And investment in knowledge pays the best. Respected dignitaries, teachers, and my dear friends, a warm morning to each and everyone. Let's start today's session by invoking the blessings of God Almighty with a silent prayer. It is the time to welcome all our dignitaries, especially our honorable guest, Dr. N A Jojomon, respected Chairman, Mr. Sajeev Vatoli, Executive Director, Mrs. Dali Sajeev, our Principal, Professor Murugan Babu Siya, Vice Principal, Dr. Joju Siyakada, invited guests, faculty members, participants, and my dear Nirmalates. Welcome to Emerge 2021. Emerge 2021, 2-week-long international multidisciplinary webinar and workshop series is being expected to enlighten you with wide opportunities. Commerce Department is obsessed to provide the best potential environment for the students to develop their career, and it is intended to wings to those hopes of exploring the world of commerce. On this auspicious occasion, we are blessed to have Dr. N A Jojomon, Deputy Director of Collegiate Education, Thrissur, as our chief guest to share his valuable experience with us, which will become a motivation to our little ones who toddle in the world of knowledge. Under the leadership of Professor Murugan Babu Siya, our dear and respected principal is a mass with one aim. He is the one who lights the path of every student and who leads them to the heights. He is the upholder of this institution, our great inspiration. It is my pleasure to invite our beloved commander, our dear principal, to deliver the welcome note. I heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Twinkle. Honored guest of the day, Professor Dr. N A Jojomon, a great name in commerce and management studies in the University of Calicut, esteemed chairman of Nirmala Institutions, Sri Sajeev Vatoli, the executive director, Mrs. Dali Sajeev, my dear colleagues and friends, good morning to you all. Friends, we are on the second leg of the webinar series spread over 14 days in 3 weeks. This beautifully bright and warm morning here at Kunnapalli, Melur, near Chalakudy, Monday, the 28th of June, 2021, the 7th day of this second edition of our annual webinar series codenamed Emerge 2021. We are witnessing here the start of the 11th session of this season here at Nirmala College of Arts and Science, Melur, Chalakudy. Well, friends, We have been enjoying a feast of academic delicacies for the last 1 week. The 2021 edition of Emerge 2021 is more enriched and more enlightening than the previous Emerge 2020. It is a unique academic feat spread over 14 working days, 24 experts, handling 24 sessions. It's a very delightful and exciting academic exercise. Friends, this is the Nirmala way of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Friends, let me formally welcome the chief guest of this day, Professor Dr. N A Jojomon, known widely as an expert in commerce and management studies, well versed in the science and research of business and business studies, an excellent teacher with a mammoth experience, a dedicated faculty who burns a lot of midnight oil in the quest for maintaining the hard-won distinction of producing the largest number of NET and UGC fellowships to his students twice every year without fail for the last 10 years. A researcher who has a large number of publications to his credit, has presented learned papers in several national and international seminars and webinars, an associate professor and head of the department at Panambili Memorial Government College, Chalakudy. Dr. Jojomon is currently holding 2 additional charges, the principal of the college and the deputy director of Collegiate Education, Thrissur. He is also a friend of mine. Sir, with lots of love and affection, on behalf of everyone here at Nirmala, I welcome you to this session of the webinar series. Now, friends, let me formally welcome you all to this august occasion. First, the chairman of this Nirmala group of institutions, Mr. Sajeev Batoli, and the executive director, Mrs. Dali Sajeev, who is also presiding over this function. The duo, the great duo at the helm of Nirmala, with lots of love and warmth, I welcome them both to this great event. Friends, now it is my turn to extend a warm and cordial welcome to our vice principal, the heads of departments, and all members of our teaching fraternity and the non-teaching staff. I welcome them all. Finally, my dear students, there are hundreds of registered participants watching the proceedings on their mobile phones in the comfort of their homes. With a lot of love and affection, I extend a very, very warm welcome to them all. Once again, I welcome you all with best wishes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. Students, you are the kingpin and you are most welcome to speak up through chat box. And you are reminded to give your feedback at the end of the session through the link that is given in the chat box. The research is to say what everybody else has seen and to think what nobody else has thought. Dr. N A Jojomon, a well-renowned academician, a guide and mentor for the emerging generation, the man who is honorable with MCom, MPhil, PhD, NET, with 26 years teaching experiences in colleges, 5 years practical experience as account officer with UB Group, approved research guide, postgraduate and research department of commerce, Panambili Memorial Government College, Thrissur. Published more than 25 articles in leading tier listed, peer-reviewed ISSN journals. I extend our hearty welcome to you on behalf of Nirmala College fraternity. Thanks for accepting our invitation, sir. Before starting the session, let me remind few points. Please feel free to submit your questions through chat box. Please fill up the feedback forms to get the participants e-certificate. Here, we are opening the screen of practical approaches to social sciences research. Once again, let me invite the renowned personality, Dr. N A Jojomon, for enlightening session. Welcome you, sir.
Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir,
Can
you
you
are
see my
audible.
can you see my PPT?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
A warm good morning to one and all. Respected Principal of Nirmala College, my dear friend Murugan Babu sir, respected and honorable Chairman of the Nirmala Group of Institutions, Sri Sajeev Atoli, respected Executive Director Dolly Sajeev, respected Coordinator Twinkle, and all other faculties of the Nirmala Group of Institutions, and dear participants. Last year, we had a similar session on the basic and practical aspects of research methodology in social science research, in which we have discussed some of the primary ways in which a new researcher or a beginner to research can think of a topic, look at a topic, how to identify a research topic, and to confirm whether a topic is researchable or not, and how this can be modulated, how this can be fine filtered to an appropriate research topic. This year also I appreciate the effort of Nirmala College in conducting 14 days long feast in this COVID era, when all are keeping silent, when everybody is resting. Nirmala is working hard and coming up with such an excellent, marvelous piece of academic feast with large number of deliberations, large number of interactions. And I was going through your brochure. It encompasses almost all topics of current relevance. And I thank and appreciate the team Nirmala, headed by my beloved Professor Dr. Murugan Babu sir. He was a luminary at Panambally Memorial Government College. Under his able leadership, Panambally scaled many heights, and I'm happy that he maintains a track record at Nirmala also. Nirmala is doing wonderfully, and they are coming out with a lot more of novel ideas, beautifully crafted, beautifully framed, beautifully arranged in sequential order across 14 days with a large number of academicians, including vice chancellors, former vice chancellors, registrars, and many other luminaries in the galaxy of academics. And I'm happy, and myself was called for a talk of this kind at this point of time. And I was looking at the designation and profile of other speakers. Amongst them, I do feel myself a little inferior, because most of the speakers were well known, renowned, and occupying much coveted positions. We see Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Collegiate University is there, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Mahalmadi University is there, respected registrars are there, former registrars are like that. Okay, let us come to it, and I appreciate the efforts of Nirmala in organizing such a seminar. And I wish may Nirmala maintain the track record. Already I've gone through 2 years. Maintain the track record every year, so that after 10 or 15 years, you can hold a total number of participants, an international record of total number of participants, total number of resource persons, total number of days resource seminar conducted, and all that. This year, what I understand from the brochure, there was 2 sessions on social sciences research. The first one was already conducted by my own friend, Dr. Sajikumar KB, who already deliberated on the basic aspects of practical aspects of social sciences research about 3 hours, seminar of 3 hours duration. Today, and I'm going to discuss about the same thing again and again. Let us discuss about a different element of social science research or any research that needs greater attention or greater care and caution. Unless this is right, we cannot have a right conclusion, right inference, right output from any research. And last year we have discussed about how to identify a topic, and there were some doubts by the candidate students that topic should be that big or that small, or topic should be of much academic importance or lesser academic importance, or can we find a researchable problem in a smaller issue or a smaller topic. And I still remember somebody was asking about the possibility of conducting a research on microfinance, and we have deliberated for a while on that, and we have discussed and settled it can be done on any smaller topic. It's nothing but research. Already searched, might have been searched already by many large number of people. That is clear from the review of literature. All that we have learned, and what we are trying to is to add to the existing literature, to add to the existing academia, something more of our own. Something more of our own. So research. You can even conduct a research on a topic that already has several times contemplated. That is how we see fine products in the market, fine theories that has been contemplated n number of times. Each time you look into, you get finer ideas, get newer ideas, get newer insights, you get different dimensions of the same topic from different angles. And this time, and the quality of any output, quality of any research depends upon how beautiful, how wonderful, how reliable, how trustworthy our data is. If data is faulty, nothing could be done on it. We have identified a topic, we have set the objectives, we have set a tentative hypothesis. And when you go step into the process of data collection, unless it is proper, it is fair, it is dependable, we cannot do anything on the data. Once raw material of a product is faulty, definitely that fault will recur. That fault will be there in the final product also. We can do some patchwork, that is true, but that cannot substitute the basic fault that the data has. So all researchers should be very cautious about the kind of data he is going to collect, the way in which the data is going to be collected, the way in which the data is going to be processed, and all that. He should take appropriate caution in selecting how to, in identifying an appropriate tool for measurement, an appropriate scale to assess data, to make it more reliable, to make it more fine. Today, I would like to focus on some of the areas that a researcher should keep in mind while stepping to data collection. Before stepping to data collection, all researchers should study well. Perhaps this is the most important step in research. He should study well what the population is, What are the characteristics and features of the population? What is the phenomena he is going to study? What exactly the topic upon which he is contemplating his research? He should have a fine idea of all these things in mind. Without proper idea of the characteristics or features of the population, or inner understanding of the meaning of inner relationship of the variables, once you set a questionnaire and you collect the data will be so rudimentary, the data will be so inappropriate, the data will not help the researcher to arrive at a valid conclusion. To arrive at valid conclusion, to arrive at valid justifications, we should get, or we may get, data capable of cracking crosses or situations in which academicians deliberate upon. There are some points where academicians deliberate upon. Why it is so? Why it is not the other way? Something like that. We need appropriate data to crack such junctions. That is to be done while setting the questionnaire, while fixing the measurement and scale. And these are to be looked into in a very serious manner. Unless it is paka, nothing could be done on a later stage of research. Many people try to compensate these faults at the time of with the statistical tools and techniques. And we ourselves find some techniques and tools may not fit the study asset. In most cases, what we see, that doesn't mean most does not fit, maybe inappropriate also for the kind of study. So measurement and scaling in data collection is very, very important. The researcher should have a clear idea of what is measurement, what are the importance of measurement, why measurement is important, and what are the probable scaling techniques. What are the probable scaling techniques available, most popularly used scaling techniques, and what does these techniques mean? Typically in the context of a research, or typically in the context where the research problem of the researcher get into with the respondent, he should select appropriate measurement, appropriate scaling method to collect data. When we purchase something liquid, we use liters, milliliters, something like that. When a distance is measured, we measure in millimeter, centimeter, meter, kilometer, depending upon the distance to be covered. When it is a height, generally we measure in meter or in feet. When there is weight, we measure it in grams, milligram. When you go for a gold, generally we measure it in milligrams or grams, and that goes up to grams, kilograms, quintals, tons, something like that. There are such scales in research also. Especially it is too important in social sciences research, because in physical science, there is a limit for choices. Most of the questions in physical sciences, because it is so systematic body of knowledge, there is a limit. There is a limit for the number of reactions or responses. But in social sciences research, we cannot, in most cases, we cannot have a finite number of choices. We see, even if after setting 7 choices, we find there are still more choices available. After setting 5 choices, we find there are some or other choices left untouched. After setting 3 choices also, we feel the same way. And in social science research, as we deal with the human beings, as we deal with our feelings, responses, satisfaction, motivation, honesty, trustworthy, and all this, so qualitative and information that cannot be judged appropriately. Can we say the distance between yes and no?
Excuse me, sir.
Very tough to answer. Hello?
Sir,
Hello?
your slide is not moving, sir.
Slide. I am coming to slide only.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
The distance between yes and no. That is yes in a particular situation, no in a particular situation. And when we are angry, sometimes we say yes. And when we are angry, when we say no. These two has two different dimensions and meaning. And the magnitude of this yes and no, the magnitude of this excellent, very good, good and all that that cannot be measured precisely. That cannot be measured precisely because of the innate nature of social sciences. Because in most cases, we deal with the reactions of our senses, sight, hearing, verbal. See, because our five senses that cannot be measured appropriately. So, measurement and scaling is very important. At least we should focus on the scientific measurement and scaling techniques available in the academia, and we should choose from the various alternatives available in an appropriate way so that we get the finest result possible. And sometimes people ask, what is measurement? It is nothing. Just think of measurement of weight, measurement of distance, measurement of voice, measurement of liquid. It is something like that. It is measurement of variables. Variables in research. When we assess these variables, we should know what is measurement. It's nothing but it is more applicable with respect to quantitative research. And quantitative researchers measure variables, answer the research questions. How do a respondent respond to a particular question? And the level of measurement used to measure the variable also has significant impact on the type of test that could be conducted on a later stage of research. So it is suggested to have the best or highest level of measurement possible when we collect information. Suppose we are going to market for purchasing some groceries. What we used to do, we used to select the best possible groceries possible in the shop. When it is faulty, when it is defective, we avoid such things and try to get the best possible thing from the grocery shop. So is the case with all purchases. Here also, when we go for data collection, we are going for data collection. We have the questionnaire with us, and we are setting the questionnaire. When you fix up the various choices, go for the finest piece of information. You add a maximum number of questions. You add a maximum number of post questions, so that we can elicit even the hidden information that the respondent may not be willing to provide directly. We can collect it indirectly, and we should collect the highest and finest data possible from the research. Measurement and scaling adds to quality of research outputs. And when we think of measurement and scaling, we should know there are generally 4 scale techniques, scaling methods available in the academia currently, namely nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scales. And for beginners, we may have an acronym NOIR, N-O-I-R, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scales. And to remember, we may keep the acronym or short form NOIR, N for nominal, O for ordinal, I for interval, and R for ratio, NOIR. That can be kept in mind as an acronym to remember what all are the probable scaling techniques available in the market. we can collect data in any of the scales available in most cases. But there are some cases where we can have only nominal scale. And it is arranged in a hierarchical order. Nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale are arranged in a hierarchical order because means nominal scale is a primary of all scales. When we think of statistical data, it is a primary, rudimentary, elementary, categorical, and qualitative data available. And we cannot have much processing on such data. We cannot have much processing on such data. We can have some categorical calculations on the data. And the peculiar feature of nominal scale is that some information can be collected in nominal scale only. Suppose sex of a man, of a population, we can have only 2 choices, 2 or 3 choices. Maybe consider the latest development also, we can have 2 major choices and may have 3 or 4 some latest choices. Third gender is also coming up and can be collected in nominal scale only. Sex of a respondent can be either male or female, and maximum you can have a third option. Can be collected in nominal scale. And the problem with the nominal scale is that we cannot have much statistical calculation, test of mean, test of variance, hypothesizing, all that. We cannot, there are so much of limitations of such data. This data is also called categorical data or qualitative data. And here also we assign some values. And you may say sex of a respondent, 1 for male, 2 for female, 3 for third gender. And in some studies we have seen researchers calculate on this 1, 2, and 3. What we should keep in mind is that here this 1, 2, and 3 are just labeled to identify a sex, 1 for male, 2 for female, 3 for third gender. That doesn't mean 3 is greater than 2 or 2 is greater than 1 or 1 is inferior to 2 and 2 is inferior to 3. In that way, 1 is inferior to 3. And such calculations, such analysis, such interpretations are not at all permissible, not at all valid. That doesn't mean in that way also. Here 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, all these are given just as a label to identify a particular sex. Name of places to which district you belong to, maybe to Thrissur, Ernakulam, Kozhikode, and all. Here also we might have given 8 for Thrissur, 7 for Ernakulam, 6 for Alapi, 5 for Kottayam, like that. Maybe a numerical background, numerical labeling. That doesn't mean 8 is greater than 7, 7 is greater than 6, or 6 is lower than 8, something like that. And you find in a match players having jersey number 1, 2, 3, and there are some crucial numbers, number 10 in football. That doesn't mean number 10 is greater than number 9, or number 10, jersey number 10 is greater than jersey number 8, jersey number 10 is greater than jersey number 7, or jersey number 10 is inferior to jersey number 11. No, they are just labels given to identify a person, identify a topic. Such a scale we call nominal scale. And they are simply assigning numbers to identify a category, identify a quality. And the data collected are non-metric in nature. And when we say non-metric in nature, that means we cannot have much calculations of such data. There are a lot more. We can calculate percentages. We can say so much percentage are male, so much percentage are female, and there is a small percentage of third gender also in the population. We can have a median when it is arranged in a sequential order. We can say so and so stands at the middle. Not in all cases, but in some cases. We can have mode, which is the last recurring sex in the group, we can say. And when we go to correlation analysis and all that, we cannot have much powerful analysis. Only correlation is that is applicable for the normal distribution is you can have Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. That is all about ranks. You can have rank correlation coefficient. And regarding testing a hypothesis, you may go for the all-time testing, chi-square test that can be applied on such data. And beyond which, nothing more could be done. You cannot have an ANOVA, you cannot have standard deviation, we cannot have an analysis of differences of means, and we cannot have much of the statistical tests available. Generally in use. And there are so much of limitations on nominal scale. There is a primary, there are 4 scales in use: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. And this is a primary scale. Once you collect that nominal scale, that restricts your liberty to apply more serious tests on a later stage of your research. There are so much of limitations. And finally, by the end of at the time of analysis interpretation, you will be trying to do some kind of statistical research, and the statistician will restrict. This cannot be done in this data because it is nominal in range. There are some questions which can be asked, upon which data can be collected, either on nominal scale or on ratio scale. That the researcher should think in advance before collecting data. Suppose family income, a question upon family income of a respondent. You give below average, below BPL, above BPL, or rich, or average. All this you get nominal information. Suppose you give a something, how much is your annual income of a respondent? Say 10,000 to 1 lakh, 1 lakh to 2 lakh, 2 lakh to 3 lakh, 3 lakh to 4 lakh, above 4 lakh. Suppose you get it that that way, that becomes a ratio scale or interval scale upon which you can have large number of calculations on a later stage. Instead of that, suppose you ask below average, average, or above BPL, below BPL, or APL, EPL. Once you make such questions, the data collected will be nominal only, and you cannot have many of the calculations popularly in use. That is to be thought of before stepping to data collection. About the some of and nominal scale is so simple, so easily understandable, easily digestible, easy to collect also, and easy to process also. And only thing is that there are limitations on its scope. Next comes the ordinal scale. Ordinal scale stands second in the hierarchy of scales. It is all about ranks, all about order. In a class, after conducting a test paper, we may say so and so has 50 mark, rank 1, 50 out of 50, rank 1, 40 out of 50, rank 2, 38 out of 50, rank 3, 35 out of 50, rank 4, 25 out of 50, rank 6. Something you can say like that. And we can arrange students in such a format also. Rank, according to rank, you can place them. And the problem with the ordinal scale is that this rank doesn't give a quantitative measurement. Can we say rank 1? Many of time, a student may be made a tough question paper. Many could not answer the question paper. Perhaps the rank 1 may get 30 only, 30 out of 50, ranked 1. The second man has got 25 out of 50, rank 2. The third man has got 20 out of 50, rank 3. The other 10 out of 50, rank 4. And all others got below 10. ranks 5, 6, 7 up to 50 we assign. This rank doesn't convey a quantitative, appropriate quantitative measure. And there is no linear sequential relationship also. Rank 1 is 30, rank 2 is 25, rank 3 is 20, rank 4 is 10, rank 5 is below 10, and all is got below 10. And the range between rank 1 and rank 2, range between rank 2 and rank 3, range between rank 3 and rank 4, there is no linear relationship, there is no sequential order, it is not in a sequential proper format. So here also under ordinal scale, we can collect data, we can order data, we can arrange data from based upon some elements, largest to smallest or smallest to largest, or first to last or last to first, something like that, or best to least, like that. We can have an arrangement, we can have an orderly arrangement, top to bottom, bottom up, something like that we can do. But not much many of the calculations are possible on such data also, because that is not given its precise. But once you collect it in mark, that becomes a quantifiable data, a metric data. The mark of the students, X 50, 30, 48, 47, 46, 45. Once you get the data in marks, that gives a quantifiable information that can be used for any kind of calculation. You can calculate mean, you can calculate standard deviation, you can have correlation, you can have regression, you can have any other testing hypothesis, any data upon this. When you collect it in mark, it is possible. Once you collect it in rank, that limits your liberty on a later stage of analysis. Such kind of data we call ordinal scale. Ordinal scale is derived from the word order or rank. And data collected on a scale, the problem is that data is also non-metric in nature, and we cannot have many of the mathematical calculations on a later stage of its analysis. And the first two are non-metric in nature, and there are limits and limitations on its application of a serious statistical test and analysis. One is the primary type of data. Second is little superior than nominal, but have some limits, ordinal. Third and fourth, really good data collection, scale methods, interval scale and ratio scale. Both these provide metric data, quantifiable data, analyzable data, which can be put to any statistical measure, large number of statistical measures of higher inference for higher inferences. In interval scale, it assumes that the measurements are made in equal units. When we discussed about ordinal scale, the problem was that rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, maybe rank 1, 50 out of 50, rank 2, 30 out of 50, rank 3, 25 out of 50, rank 4, 15 out of 50. And the range gap between the ranges are not equal. So spoil some of the features or characteristics of a standard statistical distribution. And many cases those follows binomial distribution, which limits the liberty of the researcher in applying large number of tests. Here in interval scale, gap between the numbers of scale are equal. 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, like that. And the problem with the interval scale is that it doesn't count absolute zero. It assumes zero doesn't exist at all. When we consider temperature of a room, we say it is 0. Statistician says saying temperature 0 is ridiculous. That doesn't exist. When we count intelligence of a candidate, we say 0. That doesn't exist. All has some qualities, some potential. All has some senses. So 0 doesn't exist. But a variation of 0 can be there. A variation of 0 can be there. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, maybe 0, 0, 0, 2, something like that. But absolute 0 doesn't exist. It is infinity. That's what the and it is much better scale to collect data. It is better than normal scale. It is better than ordinal scale. But it is not the finest of all data collection scale. It is good. And we can have frequencies. We can calculate mode, median, mean, standard deviation, correlation, regression. But does it satisfy all the features or characteristics of a perfect statistical distribution? Some missings are there. And that is all about interval scale. We have seen 3 scales right now: nominal, ordinal, interval. And the last, the finest of all data, the data which has almost all the properties of a good statistical distribution or properties of a distribution, is measured in ratio scale. It represents the actual amount of variables or measures of physical dimensions such as height, weight, age, distance, time, etc. At some point of time, this is similar to interval scale also. But in interval scale, absence of 0 was a serious charge against interval scale. But in ratio scale, there exists, it considers an absolute 0. We can have a growth from 0, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, something, or 0 to minus 10, minus 10 to minus 20. And it recognizes 0. There is a difference between ratio scale and normal scale, interval scale. It's a series. The data collected on ratio scale satisfies the conditions of a standard statistical series or normal distribution. And the researcher is at liberty to conduct any number of tests, to conduct what all tests he likes upon such data. So perfected data that fits to all the requirements of all statistical tests available. We can have central values, dispersion, correlation, regression, testing hypothesis, difference of mean, one way, two way, and you can have all the tests available. And the data is metric in nature and permits full arithmetic operations. And we have completed 4 scales. 4 scales means 4 ways in which a researcher can collect data. That is accepted in academia generally as scientific tools of scaling and measurement: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. These are the 4 major scaling methods available in academia. The scaling techniques, so 4 scales are there, are primarily classified into 2 categories: comparative scales and non-comparative scales. Comparative scales and non-comparative scales. Comparative scales primarily related to the first two category of data scales, nominal and interval, nominal and ordinal, nominal and ordinal. It involves direct comparison of stimulus objects. Comparative scale data must be interpreted in relative terms and have only ordinal or rank order properties and is non-metric in nature. And when we compare the fragrance of peers with the legs, we cannot have an appropriate quantifiable data. We can have an opinion, we can have a feeling, we can have very good, no opinion, bad, very bad, something like that. Yes. And regarding peers also, regarding legs also, we can have the same dimensions. And there are three important methods for collecting such data. Paired comparison method, rank order scaling method, constant sum scaling method. Okay, the scaling, there are four types of scaling: nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. And scaling techniques are broadly classified into two: comparative and non-comparative. Comparative is all about nominal and ordinal data, and there are generally three methods in use: paired comparison method, rank order scaling method, constant sum scaling method. And regarding non-comparative scales, it is all about interval and ratio scale. Here, each object is scaled independently of the other. In this, the resulting data are generally assumed to be interval or ratio scale. When we collect data in a non-comparative scale, the output is generally considered to be metric in nature or measured in terms of numbers, numerals, capable of any kind of test, statistical test in use. And there are two main kinds of methods in use in non-comparative scales: continuous rating scale and itemized rating scale. Itemized rating scale. And itemized rating scales, there are Likert scale, semantic differential scale, staple scale, mostly probably in use. And these are some of the classification of scaling technique: paired in comparative scale, paired comparison, rank order scaling, constant sum scale. And in non-comparative scale, continuous rating scale and itemized rating scale. An itemized rating scale comprises of three methods: Likert scale, semantic differential scale, staple scale. And we'll have just an overview of what all these methods of data collection are. The first one, paired comparison scale. This method is generally applied when there are two brands are simultaneously measured. We may discuss the topic with the help of an example. You look at the table given. Here a comparison of four brands: Polar, Usha, Bajaj, CKDY. A paired comparison is conducted. And the methodology is that there is column brand Polar in the column, Usha in the column, Bajaj in the column, and CKDY also in the column. And you see Polar in the row, Usha in the row, Bajaj in the row, and CKDY also in the row. And how the analysis take place, how interpretation take place. Plus indicates column brand is preferred over row brand. The plus in the column indicates column preference over the row preference, and minus indicates row brand is preferred over column branch. And we may read like this. See, you take the first column, polar, and first intersection point, that is polar to polar, leave it blank. You can find 4 such choices in other columns also. Here, polar to Usha, negative. What does it mean? Plus means column brand is preferred over row brand. Minus means row brand is preferred over column brand. We read like this: Usha is preferred over polar. Polar versus Bajaj, again minus. Bajaj is preferred over polar. Ketan versus polar, again minus. Ketan is preferred over polar. Come to next column, Usha. Usha versus polar. We find a plus mark, means column brand is preferred. We read Usha is preferred over polar. And Usha versus Bajaj, again plus. We comment, we consider brand Usha is preferred over Bajaj. Usha versus Ketan, again plus. We read it, Usha is preferred over Ketan. Come to third column, Bajaj. And you see plus. Plus means column brand is preferred over row brand. Bajaj versus polar. Bajaj is preferred over polar. Bajaj versus Usha, negative, minus, means Usha is preferred over Bajaj. And Ketan, Bajaj versus Ketan, we find a minus mark, means Ketan is preferred over Bajaj. And the last column, Ketan versus polar, plus, Ketan is preferred. Ketan versus Usha, minus, Usha is preferred. Ketan versus Bajaj, plus, means Ketan is preferred to Bajaj. And this way, paired comparison is taken, is assessed. And one simple table, we assessed the mutual preferences of these 4 brands simultaneously. This is one of the best methods in use for comparing brand preferences. It is used to compare responses on 2 objects. Respondent is presented with the 2 objects and asked to select one object. And the problem with such kind of data collection is that choices are large in number. When there are 4 objects are discussed, number of alternatives, number of outcomes, number of responses will be large in number. Once you go on asking it as question by question, it will run through pages, and your questionnaire itself will become 200, 300 pages. When you make it in a paired comparison test like this, you can fix up in a table, and the respondent will mark appropriately. You just read with our basic innate knowledge of statistics. Why and how to convert this, how to assign a value to these ranks. And there is a term called transitivity in statistics, with which we can assign value, we can quantify such a ranks. Transitivity is a term in statistics, which means if brand X is preferred over brand Y, and brand Y is preferred over brand Z, then we conclude brand X is also preferred over brand Z. Transitivity simply means if brand X is preferred over brand Y and brand Y is preferred over brand Z, then we assume, then we take it for granted X is preferred over brand Z, because X is superior to Y and Y is superior to Z. So it is inferred X is superior to Z also. And the principle is technically termed in statistics as principle of transitivity. With which we can assign value to our ranks, and we can have almost all calculations on such that. And the next method is called rank order scaling. Rank order scaling. We may understand it with the help of an example, one example, and things will be much easier. Then we'll go back to theory. Rank order scaling is a method of scaling used in statistics. When there are large number of brands, large number of products in a particular area, to what extent the respondent prefer one brand to other. Take the example of toothpaste. We know there are large number of brands available in the market. Colgate, Close-Up, Pepsodent, Dankandi, Dabur, Himalaya, Vico Turmeric, etc. Large number of. And it's a duty of the researcher. When there is such kind of junctions, we should assess all possible choices available. There can be respondents preferring a 8th brand. It is better to add either one more field, any other. That will be inappropriate. But it is better to study the exhaustive list of choices available and add it in the tables. And we have identified Colgate, Close-Up, Pepsodent, Dankandi, Dabur, Himalaya, and Vico, other brands used by our respondents. And there is a range of 1 to 7 because there are only 7, maximum 7 brands available. We are giving the list to the candidate, list to the respondent in a table, in which first column is dedicated for listing various brands. Second column is dedicated for assigning rank by the respondent. Respondent is free to assign any rank 1 to 7 to any brand it prefers. Here we get cross-compared information. Here the researcher has marked the rank 1 to Close-Up. He prefer Close-Up to Colgate. He prefer Close-Up to Dankandi. He prefer Close-Up to Dabur. He prefer Close-Up to Vico. He prefer Close-Up to Himalaya, and he prefer Close-Up to Pepsodent. Not finished. Suppose Close-Up is not available. Next choice is Colgate. And the same sequence of analysis possible, Colgate versus other brand. If Close-Up and Colgate is not available, he prefer Dankandi. And the same sequence available for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And if the first 3 are not available, he prefer Dabur. Then we get comparison or selection ranking of most preferred brand, ranking of least preferred brand. Most preferred brand is Close-Up, least preferred brand is Pepsodent, and we ranking Close-Up versus Colgate, Colgate versus Dankandi, Dankandi versus Dabur, Dabur versus Vico, Vico versus Himalaya, Himalaya versus Pepsodent. It's one of the excellent methods of data collection called rank order scaling. It gives multiple dimensions to a question that's very tough to answer. And instead of this table, suppose go on asking all these questions one by one. The stretches 1 or 2 A4 sheets. And most of the respondents will not be so serious about filling such answers. They find it very tough, clerically complicated, and may not fill it appropriately. Once you give such a table, he will look into the table, assess almost all the possible outcomes, and he will think of himself, provide his best choices. one of the excellent method of collecting customer preferences, employee motivation, employee satisfaction, and all this can be easily understood from the help of such kind of. And this method is called rank order scaling. And once we go for the theory, now it may be easy for you people to understand the theory. This method is used to rank different attributes. Here the various attributes or variables are carefully identified, arranged in a random order. And when you arrange data in the table, arrange it in a random order, there is a kind of pessimism amongst the respondents. Pessimism or favoritism. See, some people like first item. Some people hate last item. Some people like the last item. Some people like dislike first. And there is a kind of psychological trauma among respondents. So it is better to arrange data in a random order, so that such a kind of personal bias of the respondents could be avoided. It is easier, faster, and fetches ordinal data. Ordinal data. It is about order, it is about rank, ordinal data. It helps to identify the most preferred, least preferred, most popular, least popular, most accepted, least accepted, and all those kind of data is available from the table. It gives accurate data straight from the respondents in the order that they have in mind. Nobody interferes. Nobody discourages. He is given sufficient time, and he himself enters the data, and will be applying reasonably good amount of seriousness to it. Instead of getting opinion about a product you offer, suppose we ask, do you like Colgate? Yes, no. Your Colgate is an excellent toothpaste. Strongly agree, no opinion, disagree, strongly disagree. 5-point scale, we got data. We get only about Colgate. We get only about Colgate, or we get only about Dabur, or we get only about Close-Up. But in rank order scaling, we get inferences on multiple brands. That's a peculiar advantage of rank order scaling. It is always better to present the choices, alternatives in a random order to avoid personal bias. And these are something about rank order scaling. Here we have seen paired comparison, and scaling techniques are broadly classified into two broad categories: comparative scales and non-comparative scales. Comparative scale, there is paired comparison that you have seen, rank order scaling that we have seen right now, and there is one more, constant sum scaling. Constant sum scaling. It is another method in scaling, constant sum scaling. This also I do feel we'll explain with the help of an example, and then we'll come to the theory, which will be helpful for you people. It is also a method used in assessing responses of different segments on a particular variable. Here in the table is a typical example of what is called constant sum scaling. Constant sum scaling. You see the word constant sum scaling. It is clear from the term sum is constant. Sum is constant in the sense total is constant. That's it. You see the last column total. It is constant. It is same for all 100, 100, 100. That's why the name constant sum scaling. Total is constant. Sum is constant for all segments. Segment 1, segment 2, segment 3. Here we have applied a question on a particular topic to 3 segments in the society. Opinion of 3 segments, maybe of youth, maybe of middle ages, maybe of old. It is about bathing soap. It's about bathing soap. Maybe of purchase preferences, what all things you will consider while purchasing a bathing soap. And several attributes are identified scientifically and arranged in sequential order. And we have considered a bathing soap as a product, its features, that what all properties that a consumer or customer consider while purchasing a bathing soap. And we have arranged it in order. There will see people look for mildness, maybe of lather, maybe of shrinkage, how long a soap will last or not, maybe of price. Many people are so price sensitive. Maybe some people run after fragrance and soap with excellent fragrance. Maybe some people are lured by packaging of the soap. Some look at its moisturizing skill and some properties. Some looks at cleaning power of the soap. To what extent our body get cleansed. And what we understand for advertisement, even if you bath with Lifebuoy soap, some germs will persist. That is clear from the advertisement in the newspaper, in the TV. And we have identified mildness, lather, shrinkage in the sense longevity, price, fragrance, packaging, moisturizing, cleaning power. 8 properties, 8 variables of 8 properties requiring attention of customer when he make a purchase decision. Some people look at price, definitely price, money is so precious, very tough to make and very easy to spend also. Look at the price. Some people look at cleaning power. That is what the soap is intended for, to clean our body. Look at cleaning power, basic property of the soap. Some people look at its fragrance, heavily on fragrance. I like that soap because the fragrance I like most. That is a concept that many people come out. Some people are lured by the packaging of the soap. And we may purchase a costly soap and we'll keep it at the top of the table when some guests are coming, VIPs are coming. And we have identified 8 such attributes, 8 such variables that a customer consider on making a purchase decision. You see, segment 1 seems to be middle ages and gives so much emphasis to price. 53% of the people are assigned a weight of 53. Assigned a weight of 53 to price. Fragrance, no. Cleaning power, 13. Fragrance, 9. Mildness, 8. Packaging, 7. Moisturizing properties, 5. Shrinkage, 3. Lather, 2. The respondent is asked to assign any value for the 8 properties, keeping in mind total shall not exceed 100. Total shall not exceed 100. Segment 1, 53, 13, 9, 8, 7, 5, 3, 2. Once you add up the ranks, add up the values, you get 100. And the respondent is given all choices available. And he is free to assign any mark that he likes. Only thing is that total shall not exceed 100. Total shall not exceed 100. That's why the name constant sum scaling. Total shall not exceed 100. And segment 2, same thing. But they have given high priority for cleaning property. It is for that SOAP is intended for. And it considers price second, 17, followed by shrinkage. It needs a SOAP to last long, and followed by packaging, lather, moisturizing properties, and mildness. Segment 3 doesn't show any concentration, but gives moisturizing properties most, maybe college going students, 20, fragrance 19, lather 17, least bothered about price, only 9, and packaging also very important, maybe youth, not much concerned about price, not much concerned about basic properties intended of, but giving so much importance to moisturizing, fragrance, and lather. Okay. And here under this type of method, we get cross evaluation by 3 segments or 3 or 4 segments about a particular variable. So seriously, so down to earth, so typically. This method is called constant sum method. The name it got because total is always set as 100. Customer is free, respondent is free to assign any mark, any value to any of the variables provided. Only thing is that total of all responses shall not exceed 100. That's why the name constant sum scaling method. It is used to assess relative importance attached by a respondent to the stimulus object. The respondent gives certain points. Total shall not exceed 100. All these are some of the properties of constant sum scaling method. I do understand you got the point. What is constant sum scaling? And we have completed 3 methods, and all methods under comparative scales. Scaling techniques broadly classified into 2, comparative and non-comparative. Comparative scale, we have seen 3, paired comparison, rank order scaling, constant sum scaling. Paired comparison we have seen. I do feel you have got understood. Rank order scaling we have discussed, and constant sum scaling. We have completed all the methods followed in comparative scales. Next comes the most popular, most important methods of scaling called non-comparative scaling. Here, direct comparison is not there. In comparative scaling, we compare Collegiate with the Close-Up with the Pepsodent with the Vico with the other one, or price with the fragrance with that thing, and we compare things. Here in non-comparative scaling techniques, it's also called a continuous rating scale or a graphic scale. Recent days, graphic scale is getting more attention among academicians. Here the importance is a continuum will be provided to the respondent. A continuum will be provided to the respondent. And in comparative scaling, respondents are free to assign appropriate values, but total is fixed at 100. Or choices are limited 7, in which they have a liberty. Here, respondent is totally free. He is given a scale, either a vertical scale or a horizontal scale, from nil to last, poor to good, least to most. And respondent is choose or select any point in the continuum that he likes. He can have 4.3, 4.5, 8.2, 9.1, 100 out of 100. So any point he likes, you cannot say. This totality of responses, poor to good, or least to most, or excellent to poor. And the importance is that so much of importance is given to the liberty of respondent. He can even go for minute fractions of preference if he needs. Suppose if he is having some kind of calculations before filling such a questionnaire, and his calculation says it is 8.34. In other cases, it is impossible to mark. But in continuous rate scale, he is free to mark 8.4 or 8.5. Suppose his calculation says it is 6.75. He can mark 6.75 in the continue. That's a liberty that the respondent get in continuous rating scales. And in continuous rating scales, we have two category non-competitive scales. There is continuous rating scale and itemized rating scale. Continuous rating scale and itemized rating scale. And among itemized rating scale, most of the commonly used scales are coming: Likert, semantic, and staple scales. And as of now, we have completed comparative scales, paired, rank order, constant sum, non-comparative scales, in which continuous rating scale we have completed. And next comes itemized rating scale. And itemized rating, under itemized rating scale, there are several popularly used scales: Likert, semantic, and staple. Under itemized rating scale, the respondent will be provided with a number or a brief description associated with the attribute of variables. Categories are ordered or arranged in terms of scale position, and the respondents are required to select the specified category that best describes the object being rated. And there are three popularly used scales under this category: Likert, semantic, and staple. Let us discuss each in detail. I'm not taking much time on these scales because these are some of the commonly used scales in academia and research. And we may be very familiar with the Likert scale and all that, taking 5-point scale, 7-point scale, 9-point scale, all that, or 3-point scale. Here, respondents have to mark their response about the stimulus object, and choices will be, in most cases, choices will be given. Something like strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, strongly disagree. We call the collection as a 5-point scale, and marks will be, points will be allocated by the researcher: +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, or 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The second method is more appropriate, so that it will be easy for you to make calculations later stage. And you can have collect data 3-point scale, 5-point scale, 7-point scale. Some researchers prefer 9 and 11-point scale also. But the only thing, you have to assign choices. Very tough to assign choice before ahead of 7. Agree, strongly agree. Disagree, strongly disagree. And a neutral point. You get 5-point scale. And you can have one more extension either side. You get 7-point information. And once you go ahead of 7-point information, it will be tough to allocate options and choices. So generally we find a 5-point scale or 7-point scale. One of the most commonly used scales in research. I'm not taking much of your time and just leaving it Likert scale. And next one is semantics differential scales. It is one of the important methods of data collection, scaling. We'll explain with the help of an example. Then we'll come to a theory. Generally, semantic scale is a 7-point rating scale with endpoints associated with the bipolar labels. Bipolar in the sense, one positive end and a negative end. Like left, right, north, south, east, west, something like that. Here, weak is on the one side, powerful on the other side. It is a continuum, weak to powerful, reliable to unreliable, modern to old-fashioned. Always when you arrange data in the questionnaire, shuffle it and provide. Never given the same direction. Say weak to powerful, reliable to unreliable, modern to old-fashioned. Once you give in the same direction, it becomes a clerical process. And respondents may not give much importance to the filling of data. Just write 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Okay. And they say the first set is arranged weak to powerful. Okay, progressive. And the second one is given in the reverse order. Unreliable to reliable. Unreliable to reliable. So that those who are casual, taking things casually, those who are not serious about the research process, and those who are not interested in filling such a questionnaire might have, and the researcher is free to, and there are 7 intermittent points in between. And you find the slash, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the respondents are free to select any choice in between. He can write 1, or he can write 2, or he can write 6, or he can write 7, or any value he can assign. Those who are not serious about the study may just write 1 for all. And he may not even listen. It is given some variables are given in the reverse order. They may not listen. And they will just assign 1, 1, 1, 1 like that. And it is right from the side of the researcher to avoid such kind of data, filter such kind of data before going for analysis. Because the researcher, the respondent is not at all serious about filling the data. He has taken it as a clerical process. He has just filled it in according to the wills and fancies of the respondent. And that doesn't convey valid meaning. So leave it, avoid it, filter it, and take only best data possible. And when you arrange various variables, arrange some in positive or progressively, some in the reverse order, some in a diagonal order, so that you can attract the attention of the researcher. Unless the attention of the respondent, unless the respondent is serious about filling the data, whatever he produces may not give fruitful result. It will be a clerical process. And that's the such about semantic differential scale. It's a 7-point scale in which weak to powerful, unreliable to reliable, modern to old-fashioned. We never give a value, and because a respondent is told to fill a value according to his choice at any point of the continuum, just to mark in the X mark or tick mark at any point in the continuum, and he is free, and he has got every liberty to choose from. It's called the semantic differential scale. And now you may go through the theoretical aspect. Semantic differential is a 7-point rating scale with endpoints associated with the bipolar labels. That is semantic meaning. Okay, negative adjectives or phrases, something. Okay. All these are some of the ways in which data are to be, variables are to be arranged in the semantic scale, and values may be assigned. The researcher should have a paper on his hand. Values may be assigned either -3 to -3, -2, -1, 0, +1, +2, +3, or +3, +2, +1, 0, -1, -2, -3, or straight away direct 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 7. That is up to the researcher. He should have a working paper on his hand. As and when the respondent fills up the data, he should decode it with the kind of value that he has set ahead. And the method is called semantic differential scales. And we are discussing about non-comparative scaling technique, in which we have discussed continuous rating scale, itemized rating scale, in which we have seen Likert scale, semantic differential scales. And there is another method, staple scale. Staple scale, and there are some limitations for other scales. When we consider semantic differential scale, Likert scale, all the time, choices are limited, either 3, 5, 7. And there are some situations where we need much more detailed description about a variable. In such cases, the staple scales are applied. And the problem is that it doesn't consider 0. It avoids absolute 0. And at that point, it becomes neutral. And from there's a neutral point, there is a progression +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. There is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And altogether you get 11-point scales. Altogether you get 11-point scale. And this 4x at -4, 2x at +2 are the selections by the respondents. So you get data on a 11-point scale is the advantage of staple scale, but because of the complexity of data collection, this method is very seldom used these days, and many people do not like it. And we have completed all the 3 rating scales: non-comparative scales, continuous, itemized, Likert, semantic, staple. And come back, classification scaling technique. There is paired comparison, rank order scaling, constant sum scaling. Non-comparative scaling, there is continuous rating, itemized rating scale, Likert scale, semantic differential, and step. And to conclude, I would like to recap. We have seen what is measurement, what is scaling, why measurement and scaling important, what is the importance of measurement and scaling in statistical research or social sciences research, what are the methods of scales available, nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. Properties of these 4 scales. Properties of nominal scale, ordinal scale, what is called qualitative data, what is called non-quantitative nature, and the limitations of the applicability of statistical tests, and interval and ratio scale, much data of much higher order of importance and relevance. Large number of tests could be applied, any number of tests could be applied on ratio scale, and we have completed normal, ordinal, interval, and ratio scale. And we have completed classification scaling like comparative, non-comparative, paired comparison, rank order scaling, constant sum scale. And when we come to down to non-comparative scale, continuous rating scale, Likert scale, semantic differential, step. And I do feel I've got some idea of measurement and scaling. And I am thankful to the group of Nirmala group of institutions and our well-wisher, our what is called, what you said, Babu sir was with us. He was the luminary and he was the horseman at the Parpuli. And he let us always through in Parpuli to praise their glory. And I thank the people of Parpuli for class was good to support. And you may have a small deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this informative session. Now we can move to the interactive session. Dear participants, please be sure to type the questions in the chat box. Sir, your first question, if you want to collect qualitative data, which type of scale we want to use?
When we collect qualitative data, we have only one choice, normal scale. Normal scale. But you can have quantitative information for qualitative data also. That is, look into when setting the questionnaire. A data, not all data, some data that can be collected either in nominal scale or an interval scale or ratio scale. And so data in nominal scale, you become amenable or you become close and your exposure will be lost and will be restrictions on the number of tests that could be conducted. Same thing, once you collect it in a ratio scale or interval scale, you get better exposure when you come to statistical analysis. Some information can be collected only in nominal form only, but there are many information upon which once you do some homework, you can have a quantitative data for a qualitative question.
Okay, sir. The next question. If we are doing research in finance field, which type of scaling technique is preferable?
In finance, the finance is in the broader classification of social science, commerce, economics, history, management, psychology, philosophy, all this come under social science. Finance also come under social science, but finance people are lucky. In most cases, we get the quantitative information, and we cannot have a classification immediately hearing the name finance. Kind of data, all this depends upon his topic, objectives, tools used, and the kind of analysis that he is going to make. That can be fixed only after assessing all this.
Okay, sir. The next question. What are the areas covered in the social science research?
Since I have covered already. Economics,
Okay.
commerce, social science, economics, commerce, philosophy, psychology, banking, insurance, marketing, all this come under social psychology, and there is no exhaustive list as such. And there are list of physical science are there. Other areas, all areas, including languages, coming under social sciences. For people of commerce, no doubt we fall under social sciences category because our mother discipline economics is in social sciences.
Okay, sir. The last question. How we can check whether we collected accurate data or not?
The number of statistical tests are available. Diligence of the researcher. I would like to stick upon the term diligence of the researcher is very, 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 very important. A researcher can easily identify whether a response is valid or not, just going through the response. We need not bias of the, and the researcher should identify. At the beginning of the class, I was focusing on population. He should identify the population of the study, and samples are to be selected from the population only. But generally what happens, the candidate picks up a topic, sets objectives, prepares a questionnaire and forward to many of his friends. And these friends will forward this questionnaire to many other friends. And we get data in an Excel format via Google Form. But in that case, the problem is that what the study is, what is the scope of the study, what are the objectives of the study, who all are the corresponding population. Many of these friends may not fall in the definition of the population of the study, purpose of the study. Those who do not know about the topic can fill up a questionnaire and send it to the researcher. You will get a response. That will be sufficient to meet his number of questionnaire requirements. 500 questionnaire, 500 responses, 300 responses, 600 responses, 800 responses. That is enough. But how a vegetarian can comment on the taste of mutton, taste of chicken, taste of fish, taste of an omelette. Perhaps he may feel satisfaction on the taste of omelette. A vegetarian perhaps may feel it. What degree of reliability we assign to such kind of information? Here, diligence and seriousness of the researcher is very important. We should identify the corresponding targeted population. I should identify his sample first and give the questionnaire to a respondent who falls within the definition of his sample. And all this kind of this thing comes in most cases because some respondents may not be aware of the topic at all, but fill in large number of questions and forward to the chat. And he gets 300, 600, 700, 800 responses, process it, and forward it to the, and they say maybe well presented in his research methodology, collected nearly 900 responses and processed with the tools. That doesn't make any sense. It's something like a vegetarian commenting on chicken biryani. Maybe a non-vegetarian can comment upon vegetarian, perhaps he might have tasted. But a vegetarian is hardly very tough to taste a chicken biryani. How can he comment upon a chicken biryani? There lies the diligence of the researcher. That is the shortcut. And there are some statistical tools to filter bias and all that. All those were second.
Thank you, sir. Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Dear participants, kindly fill the feedback form in the chat box to receive e-certificate. Gratitude is as precious as welcome. Now I invite Mr. Angelon, student representative, for Thanksgiving.
Honorable Chief Guest, other dignitaries, teachers, and my dear friends, it's my honor and privilege to extend a vote of thanks on this occasion. Lionel Hampton once told that gratitude is when memory is stored in heart and not in the mind. My words of gratitude will be meaningful if I failed to thank our chairman and inspiring personality, Mr. Sajeev Watoli, who always gives his best for the upliftment of the student community. Let me take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Dali Sajeev, Executive Director of Nirmala College of Arts and Science, who motivates, guides, and supports all the college activities. Next, I would like to extend my most sincere thanks to our chief guest of the day, Dr. N A Jojomon, Principal of Panamalli Government College, Chalakudy, who graced us with his immanent presence, guidance, and knowledge. It's a matter of immense pride and confidence that with the blessing of Almighty God, we got such a suitable personality to inspire us. Thanks a lot, sir. Respectfully, let me thank our dear principal, Professor Murugan Babu Siya, the dynamic and flexible person in all academic matters, for gracing the occasion. Next, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our Vice Principal, Dr. Jojo Siyakara, for guiding us in all our activities in a well-disciplined manner. I also express my sincere thanks to the organizing committee, teachers, and the students of Nirmala College of Arts and Science. Once again, thanking all of you. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelon. Myself, Dr. Twinkle K. Anthony, representing Nirmala College of Arts and Science from Commerce Department. Thanking you all and kindly attend our next session, The Writer and the World, a quest to the center by Mr. Joshua Newton. Thank you.